Hospital Porter's pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Hapanmo TV, and welcome to a new Hapanmo TV video in which I actually am going on a really amazing adventure. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I'm going to Wales, where I come from. But I'm not going to Swansea this time. I'm going to part of Wales closer to my own ancestral home, which is in Lampeter. I'm going to Pembrokeshire. Well, it's actually this concerns a much larger, older county called Dyfed, which is where I come from, which is like Ceredigion, on Carmarthenshire and Pembrokeshire in one. Anyway, I'm here in this is Garsington Road, Oxford. I'm going to come to Oxford Science Park in a minute, where it all gets a bit weird and very un-Oxford-like. But I'm going to meet up with some friends. I'm actually going there with some friends. They're actually a pair of friends that I met at Swansea. They were there at Swansea. I think I talked about these friends of mine I met in Swansea. Lovely couple who came especially all the way to Swansea to see my talk. I met them again at Warrington at the Weird Weekend North, and now they're here again in Oxford. They come down specially to pick me up. We're going to drive there. So they came to spend the night in Oxford, just have a little staycation before we leave. Met them last night, actually. We had dinner. I won't name them or anything because I'm not sure exactly whether how much they want to be filmed or named in this particular video, but maybe I'll be able to tell you more about them later. So that's where we're heading now. The reason I'm going now, I'll explain as we go along exactly why I'm going to this particular location, but you could probably guess, knowing me. Yeah. So that'll be fun. It'll be great fun. I'm going to go meet them for breakfast in the hotel now. There's actually a Premier Inn along here, but like the one in Swansea, and there's a beef-eater restaurant and neighbouring it, and that's where they're having breakfast. Yeah, so that'll be fun. They're lovely. They're a lovely couple, actually. Really, really nice people, and we sort of really hit it off immediately. So you instinctively know when certain people are right, you know what I mean? You instinctively know that. You definitely do. I'm heading off to Wales. When I cross back over the border eastwards, I could be returning to a very different world, because the French election is happening now. That's exciting. I'm actually going to do a special live stream about that when I get back, and you're probably going to see this before you see this video, because, well, depending on what happens, as I said, it could be a very different world when I return back from my ancestral homeland. It's kind of appropriate, really, isn't it? That's the case. I'll show you something a bit Illuminati now. This here is the Morris Memorial. It's a big phallic symbol here in south east Oxford. This is Cowley, Oxford, the Science Park. It's this kind of an obelisk-like phallic symbol, and you can see that there is the city's crest, the ox and the ford. Yeah, get it? Ox, ford. Yeah, that's the etymology of Oxford comes from. There used to be a ford here for oxen. But Ellis Taylor would be interested in things like this. He always is. It looks all very Dubai around here, doesn't it? It really doesn't look like somewhere in Oxford, I must say. Anyway, I don't want to ramble too much because I've got to get breakfast. Got to head for Wales in a car. I'm going to be driving in a car, and then I'll tell you all about where I'm actually doing and what I'm up to.
At the roundabout, take the 4th exit.
Alright, we're now heading off. We're now heading off. We've just left the hotel. I've had breakfast. It's been very nice. And so we're just leaving Oxford. I've got to correct something I said earlier in the video. I said this was the Oxford Science Park. It's Oxford Business Park, just so everyone knows. So here we go. There is a jaguar outside my door, stretched out and purring, waiting for more. Down, 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 down. I'm actually in a Jaguar, believe it or not. Mike here, well, my friend Mike here, has a Jaguar, and I've never been in one before. It's actually pretty small. You can hear how strong the engine is. Isn't it that? That's the way to travel, isn't it? It's actually pretty small. If I drove, I probably wouldn't have one of these. It's a bit too small for me. But it's very, very posh. It's very, very grand. It's a grand car to have. Just show you the dashboard there. It's quite nice. and we're heading to South Wales, and we're on the M4. It's actually quite a simple drive. We just keep going straight ahead basically until we get to Wales. And I'll tell you more about what we're going to do when we get there, but it's going to be an interesting trip, I think. So it shouldn't take long actually. Traffic allowing, this should be quite a quick journey. It's not like the coach. The reason the coach takes so long is I've got to go to bloody London first, then change in Bristol and things like that. So it's much simpler just to drive. Prince of Wales Bridge we're going over. It's all been painted green apparently. I didn't know that, but I can see that it has. Pistachio green. Now I've been over this bridge a few times, but never in a car, certainly not in a Jaguar. And I've been over on a coach quite a few times. You can just see the sea out there, River Severn Estuary. This is where Richie Edwards jumped off. That's a shame. Or did he? If you watch Rich Planet. Do you reckon Richie Edwards is alive, guys?
Who's on it?
Manic Street Preachers.
Really?
He jumped off this bridge in 1997. According to Richard D. Hall, he might still be alive. Well, he was never. Well, we assume he jumped off the bridge, and unfortunately, that's the most likely thing that happened to him. But he's rather like Elvis, you know. People still wonder if he's alive. The difference between Elvis and Richie is Elvis definitely is dead. There's a dead body and everything. There it is. Going over this bridge. Is there more than one bridge? Oh, it's the other one, yeah. The other one, I think, is the one where I go over in the coach. And that's the one where Richie jumped off, I think. He was very depressed, the poor guy. He was very sad. And we reached the other side of this. We're in Wales. There's Wales over there. Just see it in the distance. Pretty soon it won't be in the distance.
Alright.
There's the pink water of the... Why does the water looks pink, doesn't it? Have you noticed that? What the water of the Severn Estuary is kind of a pink colour. And here we are. Guide me, oh thou great Redeemer, pilgrim to this barren land. I am weak, but thou art mighty. Hold me in thy powerful hand. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Feed me till I want no more. By hein lad fy nhadau, yn anwyli mi. Glad by y llachantorion, enwogion o fri. I gwrol ryfelwyr, glad gadwyr trafod, dros ryddid collasant I gwaed. Glad, glad, glaidio lwy fi'n glad. Tra mor yn fyr, i'r byr of bai, o bydded i'r heiniaeth barhau. And here we are, we're in Wales. That one didn't take too long, did it? That was actually quite quick. And you'll see a bilingual sign. It says here, look, Crossroad Company, welcome to Wales. We made it. Oh, we're not there just yet. We've got to go across most of Wales now to get to where we've got to go next. And you have the bilingual signs, of course. There's a big sign over here. We've reached the end of the motorway. We come to the whole of look at that. And that is a very Welsh view there over there with those hills or mountains, however you define them. That's a very Welsh view. Look at that. And we're now on the non-motorway now. We're nearly at the end of our journey. We're in Carmarthenshire, West Wales. I've not been back here.
Turn left onto Hendra Road, B4297.
I've not been here since I was a little kid, but this is since I came back to Wales. Not been here. I've not been here in all this time, and I'm coming back. Actually, yeah, it's Friday evening. I've been with my friends. We've just been to the pub. We went to this lovely pub where they had a nice meal, and I'm staying in this lovely room here on this memory foam mattress. And so I think I'll have a nice nice sleep, probably have a cup of tea with my friends, and then tomorrow the fun will begin. I'll tell you more about what we've got planned. I just love this mug. Feminist tears. Perfect. I've got to get one of those. It's actually quite a nice day out here. There's a bit of cloud, but sun's coming through. You can see those hills in the distance, all very Welsh. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in South Wales. My hosts read the light, so that's good, isn't it? They're my kind of people. And this is where we're going. This is what I'm here for. You may be wondering why I've come to Wales with my friends here. This is southwest Wales, and this is Pembrokeshire on this peninsula here. You can find it on a map. Now, the reason I've come here is I want to visit the locations of a number of UFO sightings. And there's a book that I will show you, which I've been reading. It was actually recommended to me, and they gave me a copy by my friends. And what happened was, in 1977 there was a major UFO flap in this area, and we're going to be visiting the locations where this happened, and who knows, we might see something strange ourselves. It's an odd place actually. I come from this area. I actually come from slightly further north in Lampeter, which is up this way. But if you look at this area, there's all kinds of strange things about this area. It's a very rocky, rugged coastline. There's several islands. There's these peninsulas here. There's a number of military bases such as RAF Browdy, the Milford Haven Naval Base. I forgot what it's called now, and several others. I'll tell you as we go along about some of my childhood memories of this area, but just as an example, look at the place names here. Bulgagroes, Blaenfoss, Llanfair and Gwyn, up in north here, Pontgynnon, Llanchair. These are what you'd expect in Wales, Welsh language place names. You come to the south of Pembrokeshire, and you have here Broadmoor, Pembroke, Castle Martin, St Twynels, Maiden Wells. It's like England. It's like a little bit of England has been inserted onto the bottom of Wales. The people in this area actually speak with English accents, believe it or not. It's a small area, but it's like it's like a microculture. People speak with English accents. Very few speak Welsh. And it's curious about why. There's apparently a historical reason why that is. I don't know if you... It's with Vikings, all right. But it's a weird thing. Anyway, that's where we're going to be going, and as we go through the day, I'll show you more and more, and hopefully we'll see the locations where the weird things happened all those years ago, and indeed maybe even see something strange ourselves. Fingers crossed. My hostess Rhiannon has a particularly appropriate T-shirt, I think. Well, it's a Hammer and Sickle, British Brainwashing Corporation. Quite so, well done, that's really good. It's really good. And here is my T-shirt. As you can see, it's equally appropriate. It has the word disclosure on it, which apparently means an accusation of domestic violence by a white man. But it also means the truth that we are not alone in the universe, and that you see a little UFO up there shining a light down on there. So I think both of us are dressed appropriately for this little adventure. We're having breakfast now at Big Bite Cafe Diner, which is well, somewhere in South Wales. But look, this is a place named after my heart. It really is. Cash only. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you. Oh dear. Believe me, gentlemen, ladies, it is no inconvenience at all. Well done indeed. Do remember, guys, you know where to come if you're a freedom-loving person. Big Bite Cafe Diner, and there's the number. Another little feather in the cap of this particular eatery. Waitress needed for morning shifts. Ask inside for detail. Waitress. They don't have an awful lot of respect for wokeism, do they? You're not supposed to use gender-specific language in this world. There's actually a word called waitron, W-A-I-T-R-O-N. I don't like to utter it in case I sort of like cast some spell that might bring it on. But apparently it has been invented by the Orwellian Newspeak dictionary publishers, and it's supposed to replace the waiter and waitress the same way. You don't talk about actresses now. Well, I do, because I like to be transgressive. But I also say barman and barmaid, where you're supposed to say bartender, which is a stupid American word. So, congratulations to Big Bite for standing up to the cashless society and to the Wokerati Newspeak Dictionary Publishers Organisation. It's destroying language and making it bland and making thought crime impossible. Yeah, so we're at a place called Nantycaws, which actually means the stream of cheese. It's an odd name, but this is it's a beautiful location. But what happened here? There's this book I want to show you, just quickly here. We've been reading this book, The Dyfed Enigma, by Randall Jones Pugh and F.W. Holiday, on unidentified flying objects in West Wales. That's a good picture there, isn't it? So it's the back cover. But so what happened here, Rhiannon?
Okay, so it would have been August 1977, and this was the only road basically from West Wales to basically the rest of the world. There was no dual carriageway then. A lorry driver called Francis Lloyd was driving from Haverfordwest to Swansea to go to the continent, and he had a young assistant with him, and this is a journey he would have done hundreds if not thousands of times before. So he's coming down from Carmarthen down Nantycaws Hill, and he gets to this crossroads here at the bottom of the hill, and he and his assistant, what he described as 2 7 foot tall, huge, what he described as humanoid figures.
Right, humanoid figures, my goodness. Right. What do they look like?
Well, he said that they had like large, tall sort of helmets, and they had this kind of like a silvery kind of antennae coming out of their shoulder. Bear in mind, he only got a few seconds to see them as the lorry rolled past. But what he did say, that he said that they were definitely not human. He was adamant about that, and his assistant that he was with, he said never actually recovered. They didn't talk about it. He didn't want to discuss it. He was completely freaked out by what he saw.
Right, bloody heck. So that's interesting. It was August because, as you'll find out later on, this all began at the beginning of the year, January, and it went on through the entire year. And this is just one of many, many strange things that have happened in this area. Did you say earlier on that there was some strange effect of the lorry?
Yeah, what he said when he did an interview with the Haunted Skies man,
John Hanson.
yeah, he told him that after that time, every time he did the journey, because he would have had to do this journey many times, in exactly the same place as where he saw the humanoids, the diesel engine of the lorry would falter, and he could never explain why that happened.
I can't think of a reason. I mean, the electromagnetism can cause that, but these things can be detected, and for a residual electromagnetic field to last that long, and to have that kind of effect on an engine, it would have to be extremely strong and have a very definite source. So, yeah, this is a mysterious thing. I just got to get a bit closer, just have a quick closer look at the crossroads itself and what it looks like today.
Standing on the birds, on the side of the road on this side.
Right.
On this side, 2 of them, and he said they had their arms raised as if they were, and kind of huddled together as if they were holding something.
Right. Their arms were above their heads.
Yeah.
And it was on this verge here.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Probably. I don't know how much that's changed since 1977, but obviously this road is like an original single carriageway. The dual carriageway behind the trees didn't exist. So yeah, this is Nantycaws Hill, and the first location we're going to visit today. Very, very odd. And there is a little bit more that Rhiannon and I want to discuss, and what's that?
Well, what's interesting, as well as the humanoid sighting, is that was in the August of 1977. In the November, just a couple of months later, there was a car of rugby players who were travelling along this stretch of road from playing a rugby match up in Brecon. And there was a horrific accident that's remembered to this day. Actually, if you go a little bit further up the road, there's actually a plaque to remember what happened. A lorry come in the opposite direction, knife jacked and spread across the carriageway, and the car with the rugby players had hit it, and they were all killed outright, and it was a horrific accident. And there was never any reason for the accident found. It was unexplained. Now, the theory in the Dyfed Enigma book that the author comes up with as a potential cause is he questions, did the lorry driver of that jackknife lorry see what the Francis Lloyd saw 3 months before, and it completely freaked him out and he lost control?
Could be. Did the lorry driver survive?
No, nobody did.
Right. So that's possible. It's possible. Or it could be that there's some kind of, like, I don't like to use the word curse, but there are sort of like things associated with investigation into any sort of strange phenomenon that sometimes causes bad effects.
I know if you go on the SUFON website, the Swansea UFO Network, website, there is an account there, I think, of one gentleman more recently, I think maybe 10-15 years ago, who was travelling up this road. Now obviously joining onto the dual carriageway, and he says that there was a blue light following him.
Oh, right. That's
So there have been other accounts too.
That's very odd, yes. So this is a rather strange place we're in, ladies and gentlemen. I've got my camera ready just in case if something weird happens, we'll add it to the collection of weird stuff that goes on in this part of the world.
Yeah, so that's what I think we're going to see.
Okay, here's where the terrible accident happened, which Francis Lloyd experienced, the lorry driver. Then he took his lorry down here, and the humanoids you'll see in a moment. You'll see in a moment exactly where it was. We're approaching from the other direction now. You see the verge on the right, and it's this crossroads, isn't it?
Yeah, it's down here.
He's driving down here late at night.
Right.
And on the right here, where the crossroads is, is where strange humanoids were seen. That's where he encountered them. Very, very odd indeed. I've had a thought actually about this because we've just been over the timings again and the timeline, and the incident with the lorry happened in August of 1977. Now the terrible disaster we described, in which eight people, the drivers and passengers of a minibus, happened, which were all killed instantly in a terrible collision just a few hundred yards from where the humanoids were sighted in November, just over 2 months later, has led me to wonder if there's a connection between the two things. John Keel actually thought this when he talked about the Mothman's appearance and the other phenomena, Indrid Cold, all the men in black and all the other strange things that happened in Point Pleasant. Whether there was something similar going on, because soon after the Mothman sightings ended, something terrible happened in Point Pleasant. The Silver Bridge, this huge suspension bridge across the River Ohio, collapsed. It was loaded with traffic. It was overloaded, in fact, which is one of the reasons it collapsed, and it fell into, and all the vehicles and the people inside them were dumped into the river. I think I don't know how many people were killed. And Keel wondered if there's some kind of backwards echo through time, which would make, of course, in that case, the information time travel backwards, which is supposedly impossible, possible at least in informational terms, maybe using the many worlds hypothesis. In that case, is the appearance of the humanoids in August of 1977 some kind of backwards echo of the terrible incident was to happen just a couple of months later in the very same place? Did the appearance of those humanoids did they somehow know? Were they trying to warn us? Were they trying to just let us know something impending was happening? Or was it entirely involuntary? These are questions that remain unanswered. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering Carmarthen. Now, this is a town I went to many times. I've been to many times, but not since I was about 8 years old. I'm coming back here for the first time, so probably no one remembers me. If they do, they certainly won't recognise me. This was years before I was the stentorian tinfoil hat-wearing giant you see before me today. I was a rather frightened and strange little boy. Moving to a weird place called Oxford. I don't think I'll recognise anything here. I did go to the cinema once here when I was probably about 6 years old. I think we saw like a Disney thing. Oh God, it's so long ago. I can't remember. But anyway, welcome to Carmarthen. Called the jailhouse. Is this where it's not a jail, what is it now? It's a...
where the criminals live in the county council.
Right. Oh, they're the real criminals, yeah. So it is a kind of jailhouse. It's got there the Red Dragon, of course, the Drygoch. I thought that was the bloody EU flag for a minute. It's not, it's just the county. And look! They're also flying the normies crack cocaine. The Ukrainian flag. You can't get away from it! Oh, dearie me! It'd be a nice building, I look like. It's got this big fortified basement, it's like foundation basement here. It's nice, but...
It used to be a jail.
And now it's sort of like,
County council.
yeah, as Mark was saying, very wittily put it, a place where the criminals are still hanging out. Well, we're in Pembrokeshire, ladies and gentlemen, and as you can see, there's an absolutely lovely view. It reminds me a bit of Devon, actually. It's a very picturesque part of Wales. It'll get very flat, actually, before we get to the main area of interest. But this area is very hilly, like most of Wales is. But we'll be seeing some of the rugged coastline too, which I haven't seen since I was a small child. I've seen none of Wales. I've never been at the West Wales coast since I went to Aberystwyth and Aberaeron when I was a little kid. Rutston Abbey. We're at a place there, it's an old church called Rutston Abbey. It's all like surrounded with barbed wire, but there's an interesting story behind this.
Church of St John the Baptist.
Right.
But it's been abandoned allegedly because of subsidence. I think it was sold in 1990 for £1 or something.
Oh, right.
But apparently the architect that designed it, he built it with the altar the wrong way round. So it looks like an inverted crucifix rather than the correct cross shape. And the rumour is that apparently he was so distraught he discovered the mistake that had been made that he hanged himself, but I don't know if that's true.
Oh, could be. That sounds a bit over the top, doesn't it, for a little error. You know, it's not like he's cursed, but can we actually get into this place? Yeah. Oh, nice. We're going to get this. I don't know why there's a post box here for Rutston Abbey. We're going to go in here anyway and have a look. This was a little surprise. I didn't know we were coming here, but Leon and Mike decided to surprise me. There's also an abandoned van here. Oh my God, look at this. This is like a sort of like bats thing, and bats in a balcony.
But it's a
thunderclaps.
Example of Victorian neo-Gothic.
Oh right, let's just get. Wow, look, it is, isn't it? It does actually have a spooky atmosphere. It has a very spooky atmosphere.
The window's gone since what time were
Yeah, I know, it's getting worse. Windows gone in.
Yes, obviously they're not going to last forever, are they?
But that's the irony, isn't it? You make something a listed building, preserve it, and then it's just left to rot.
Yeah, this is the Camo Dude's van, which is broken. I know that's sad, isn't it? But it's sad that it's like that. It's all sealed up. You can't. I wonder if you can peek through the crack in the door. Let's have a look. I can't see anything.
If you want to, I think if you go down there, you can get down to the front.
Oh right. Oh my God. You see, it's been abandoned quite a long time.
Yeah.
Not that long then, never seen. But it used to be a proper church. And supposedly it's subsidence here. Oh, she's come to some new gravestones on this. So many birds and bats are getting into that. Alright. Celtic cross there. I bet there's some ghosts in here. This is probably haunted quite badly, I imagine. Look, that's a really old gravestone. So this is like Victorian, it's built in...
1848
Right. And sort of mid-19th century. What's this? Bloody heck. Bloody heck, oh goodness me. Watch your step here, guys. I'll come this end and see it. You can see it best from this side. I see they're pretty keen to keep people out. I was just saying, but this is the kind of moment in a horror movie where suddenly ghouls jump out at us, and all the scary and the over-inquisitive explorers end up getting killed. Look at this. They really don't like trespassers here, do they? This barbed wire is quite new. Look at that, man. What's in there, I wonder? God, that's spooky. That's well creepy. That's pretty creepy, that is, Ariana.
You used to be able to get into the boiler room, that's all new, that is. They must have, there's a few people have done videos of this on YouTube, and then a few of them must have seen that people are going in there and keeping an eye.
That barbed wire is new, it's not rusted. If you fell in from there, right, you wouldn't be able to get out.
No, you wouldn't.
Because barbed wire and there's a high wall, you wouldn't be able to get out there.
Death, wouldn't it?
You'd be stuck there, you'd be calling for help, yeah. Oh God. Just hoping someone from the road could hear you, yeah.
I don't think they would.
No. What a place. This is St John the Baptist Church in Slebeck. Yeah. Through the keyhole, what's in here? And all I can see is like there's a wall opposite, and there's what looks like a plank of wood. There's like a wooden thing. Have a look. And come the full circle. We just went round this old spooky church anti-clockwise, which means if a car follows us with red headlights, step on the gas. We're getting close to Broadhaven now. This is we've reached Haverfordwest. We're right on the far southwest coast of Wales, nearly the most southerly westerly place in Wales. And this is where 45 years ago very strange things happened. You should be able to see the sea in a minute. Here, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time since I was 8 years old, is the sea. Oh, whoops, it's gone. That was it. That's a little glimpse. But this is starting to look familiar. I have seen. This is the sea on the far southwest of Wales, the Irish Ocean now, and this is Broadhaven. Coming up in a minute, and you can even see some ships out at sea. There's some ships out there. Can you see them? Oh, I love the sea. I absolutely love the sea. Yeah. Oops, I'm filming the door pillar, idiot. I'll never be a Steven Spielberg. I don't know how much you saw of the sea there, but I'll show you some more of it in a minute. This is a lovely little seaside place. It's starting to look familiar. This is typical of the coast of South Wales, actually. You get these rugged cliffs.
This one?
Yeah.
And we're getting close to the school now.
There's a car park.
Where's the school?
Left.
Getting close.
Okay, misdirected.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bit of ufological history here. This is the Broadhaven Community Primary School, and you can see here where we are. This is the locale. I'll just give you a quick 360. I don't know how much this has changed since 1977. The building looks sort of 1970s architecture, actually. And we have a little map that shows where we are. Now that there, this is a map drawn in 1979 when this book was published. It's the first edition. That's the school. You can see it's sort of a cross shaped, and this is like one of the transepts here. So we are just where my fingernail is there. It appears that some of these buildings, well, you see, they probably haven't written these buildings in because those are obviously like 19th century buildings, but there's a pathway that runs up here and it doglegs to the left and doglegs to the right, and there will be right where the flying saucer is, hopefully. It's somewhere up there. So let's proceed and see how we get on. You aren't holding that, is that all right? So this is a little alleyway here. It's not what I expected, you know. I thought it was kind of like flatter, sort of like. Hello, doggy. Hello, how are you? Little doggies. So this is where the kids were in the playground, where they saw it. That's this kids' playground. It's Saturday, the school's shut, so you trolls, I know some of the trolls will say I'm a pervert for filming this, but I'm not. Lovely little school there, like nice artwork. So, right. This is as far as you can go. This is as far as... Yeah. Well, we've been somewhere up... Well, we can't see the actual spot through the trees. I don't know if there's another way to get to it, but... So you can see this is probably used to be a path, but it's now private property. Oh dear, that's a shame. Never mind. But what was seen here, Leanna? What did the people see? It was quite something, wasn't it?
It was a craft, wasn't it? And I suppose what we now call a flying saucer. But I remember there was reference to the kids saying it looked like it was stuck, like it was trying to take off, but it couldn't, and it was caught in the trees.
Just gonna hold this close to you. Yeah, it was several. There were several different descriptions. I mean. This was what date? It was in February 1977.
I think it was February 1977.
It's in the book.
Yeah, it was the start of it, wasn't it?
Yes, it says here in the book somewhere exactly when it was. 4th of February 1977, 3:35 p.m. This was like this must have been late. This was before the kids came out of school, didn't they? It was just when school had ended, and. Yeah, but they describe it as, some said it was like yellowy and silvery. Some said
one of the teachers saw it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone said it was yellow and silvery, saucer shaped, or one of them said cigar shaped. I'm just speaking up because there's a bit of wind on the mic. And there was some said it had an orange light on it.
Yeah, I think so, on the top, wasn't it? Yeah.
This used to be marshy up there. It used to be mud. You can see there's a little stream running through there. In February it would have been... This part of the world gets very cold and wet. They all ran up to have a closer look at it.
Yeah.
And one of them said they saw a humanoid being.
Yeah, and I remember I think it was one of the dinner ladies, she had a theory that what they'd actually seen was one of the vehicles to do with the sewage works right nearby.
Right.
So she actually went down to the sewage works and asked the man there, you know, was it one of your vehicles? And he said absolutely not. There was nobody around, and they wouldn't be able to get there because, like you said, it was so boggy, and any vehicle would have got stuck.
Yeah, this is not interestingly the first time in Pembrokeshire where sewage works and UFOs and aliens are associated, as you'll find out later. But that's another theory was Mr. Llewellyn, the headmaster in here, who's presumably no longer headmaster here. It's a long time. It was 45 years ago. He said he thought they might have seen a helicopter or a Harrier jump jet, a V-style aircraft from RAF Browdy, which is no longer... I must correct myself, actually, Rhiannon has corrected me. RAF Browdy doesn't exist anymore, except as an army barracks, I believe. But it used to be... There used to be like a working RAF base and a centre for SOSUS. SOSUS is a special listening station where they would have actually hydrophones on the seabed listening for warships and submarines from Russia.
I think that's still there.
Yeah, is that still there, SOSUS? Yeah, of course they're listening for the Russians now. But one of them saw a humanoid. Now, what's interesting about this is that in 2017, on the 40th anniversary, Sufon held an event to mark the 40th anniversary. I don't know if, did you go to that?
No.
Okay. But I know several people who did. Emlyn, of course, you know, he organised it. And one of them was David Davis. One of the people who went was David Davis, who was a 10-year-old boy in this school at the time. He's now sort of like a mature man, of course. And he, 50 years old, well, he was 50 years old at the time. And he stands by what he saw. He hasn't changed his story. Let me ask you, Hapanmo TV viewers, how many times when you were little kids and you played pranks, how many of those do you still pretend was real today? Because of course the kids were all accused of making it up. I mean, there was a big media storm about this. There was a lot of TV cameras turned up, newspaper reporters. Do you know, this is very, very similar to several other events, especially Rua, Zimbabwe, 1994. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah.
It's remarkably similar. There's also quite a few similarities to the 1966 Westall incident in Australia. It remains a mystery to this day. The kids stand by their story, those who are willing to comment. Up there, unfortunately we can't reach the actual area anymore, is where the flying saucer landed. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll go on now to the next location, which is actually very close to here, and it's quite dramatic. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I thought I'd insert a little bit more into this particular scene, and the reason is because we couldn't actually visit the location of the UFO landing, where it was allegedly landed according to the children's witness testimony. However, at the same time, as the map that's published in the book that we showed you is rather misleading, because it doesn't actually include all the details of all the surrounding buildings, and some of them are clearly perfectly old enough to have been around in 1977. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do the best I can to show you on a modern map exactly where all this happened. I'll use red ink here. Now, this is where we parked the car just there. Oops, no, I don't want that. I want brushes. Okay. We parked the car here in the car park, and we walked up this road here. We walked all the way along here, and we couldn't get very far. We got to about here, and then you saw it was all blocked off. What used to be a footpath that ran along here. This used to be a public footpath that ran all along the way to these woods here. Is now basically sealed off and is part of this private estate, which is this little bit here. Okay, that's obviously at the time it was different. It was it was very, very different indeed. Now, the actual location, according to the children, where the flying saucer, the alien craft, whatever it was, landed, and you better see if you refer back to the map which we show you. There's the Walton Road there. You see, you can see up here. There's this cross-shaped building. Of course, is the school, as it appears on the map. And there's a couple of outhouses, sort of in this area here, which are actually missing now, which means they must have been demolished since 1977. My best estimates to the location of the craft, based on what the children said, and indeed comparing the map in the book to this modern map, my best estimation for the location of the UFO is round about here. This, I believe, is where the children, and there were too many of them for them to be making this up, saw something very strange. They saw it in this area here. There's a UFO. I'll draw a little UFO and a little alien stick man there. So that's like a matchstick man there, but it is actually an alien thing there. Okay, they saw it round about here. They were sort of playing in this area, and unfortunately, it's not accessible today. It's not. I don't see any way you can access it. I mean, if there's this field here. That's not a path. I don't know what that is, but there's something along here. There's several other hedges and things like that, but we didn't see any public footpaths or anything like that leading to the event, to the location. So that's changed since 1977. In 1977, obviously, the children could get there. Now they can't. This used to be boggy ground. I don't know if it still is. I suppose the question is, has public access been discouraged in this area over the last 45 years because of that alien craft landing there? Because that was certainly the case at the place in Nottinghamshire, wasn't it, where the UFO crashed, Annesley Hall. I wonder if this is like Annesley Hall in that respect, and this area now is difficult to reach. It's possible we might find a way to get there, because I am planning to go back to this location, so if I can, I'll let you know. I won't do anything criminal, but I might climb a few fences, put the waders on, whatever it takes. There could actually be evidence in this area right here. There could actually be evidence of a residual effect based on the presence of the object. I mean, that has happened at other UFO events. It seems to be the case at the field at Annesley Hall, which is maybe why they don't want people accessing it. Makes you think, doesn't it? We're heading now from Broadhaven Primary School to the... What's the hotel called?
It's called the Old Fort Hotel.
The Old Fort Hotel, which is actually very close to here. It's just a...
It's in Little Haven.
Yeah, Little Haven's just literally the neighbouring village, just less than a mile from here. But Dion mentioned something about one of the pupils at the school. He was the son of the commandant at
RAF Brodie.
At RAF Brodie, and his father, who was like senior RAF officer. What did he say about the whole thing?
Well, he said his son came home really distressed, and he believes that he doesn't think he was making it up at all. He believes he genuinely did see a UFO.
Right, yeah, that's interesting. So the kid told his father that. It's interesting to realise that the kids, people, these things get blamed on people like balloons and helicopters and things like that. The kids would have been familiar with aircraft like helicopters and Harrier jump jets. They'd have been familiar with these things. They didn't know what they looked like. What's more, you can imagine that an aircraft like that, hovering very close to the ground, or being or landing, would have caused a lot of noise, and people would have heard it. Right, now we're coming close to this hotel. Alright, so the family, the Granville family who ran this, what actually, it was a lovely view you get from here. What did they do? Did they sell it? What did they do with it?
It's not just the hotel, it's got its own private beach and stacked rocks.
Oh, right.
You know, and we're in a hugely popular tourist area here.
Oh, it looks like some kind of building site
Yeah,
now.
it looks like they're doing some work to it, and that wasn't there, the havens.
Hey.
So it looks like somebody's actually doing something with it now, because it had been left.
Oh, right, let's go out and have a look. This is the famous hotel run by the Granville family in the 70s. They bought it in 1970, and they were sensible people who didn't mess around. It seems like it's got a name board. It looks like there's some kind of building site up here. Look. There's a cafe. There's some kind of cafeteria. I don't know how much you can hear because we're on the microphone right now. Ah, right. I see they've got some doggies here. There's a lovely view here over the bay. Absolutely delightful. So you can see it's a perfect place for a hotel. But obviously someone is in here. Hello doggies. Warning, keep out. Because there's like a little outhouse over there.
The back, that side, see? This side?
Right.
So it would have been over there,
This wing here.
and it was right next to the nuclear bunker.
Yeah. Over there's like a field where they saw the two humanoids and a
And they seem to be looking for something.
yeah, an oval-shaped craft. But there's also there's a Royal Observer Corps bunker, or there used to be in the Cold War, which was basically a nuclear hideout. As you see, there's doggies here who obviously are not all that keen on visitors. Hello doggies, it's alright. And the funny thing about it is, the oval-shaped craft, just show you a bit more of the view, the oval-shaped craft was it was said to be about 6 feet across, but these tall humanoids were about 7 feet tall, which to me indicates this couldn't have been a vehicle for them. They were too big. But this here is the hotel, ladies and gentlemen. The famous.
She said is that for many nights after, and I think before, she would stand in the car park and see lights in the sky just hovering, and then shoot out to sea and then disappear.
Well, that fits, you know, lights in the sky and humanoids. These things often go together. What the object was, the 6 foot wide ovoid, we're not sure. But the thing about it is, it could be that the object actually was dimensionally transcendental, bigger on the inside, like the fictional spacecraft. TARDIS, the BBC Doctor Who series, the TARDIS, the spacecraft, the vehicle. But yeah, that's it's interesting to see this place. I've been reading about it for quite a long time, and now I've even written an article for UFO Truth magazine about this, and now here it is, right behind me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that over there is Stack Rocks. This actually belongs to it's part of the private sea estate of this hotel. There's actually a private beach down there that belongs to the hotel as well. Oops, there it is. Now, very interesting story about those rocks. I don't know how much you can hear me, and I'll just let me just turn around. There we are. Okay. Because I don't know how much you could just see them in the distance. Very interesting story. There's the Ripperston farm where a family called the Coombs family lived in 1977, and there's a whole book been written about them called The Uninvited. And the Coombs family saw UFOs and aliens on that rock, including what they said looked like some kind of hole leading with some staircase leading down to something subterranean underground. Now, we can't actually get out to those rocks unless you've got a boat, and I think you need permission anyway. But well, I probably wouldn't bother with that. I'd just get the boat. But to me, it reminds me of the Amachiche case in Italy, where the aliens appeared out of holes in the ground and things like that. And it's I'm going to speak up because there's wind on the mic. What's more, Rosa Granville, the mother of the family that ran the hotel, which you've just seen, which is literally just behind me. That's the hotel. She saw them too, like little aliens appearing. There's a UFO and aliens, like humanoid beings, very much like the ones we've been talking about throughout this entire video. Literally, it looked like a staircase appeared, and aliens were going down the stairs into some kind of underground facility beneath the rock. Whether there's a physical underground facility there, or whether it's something else, interdimensional portal, we're not sure. But that there is Stack Rocks. And this is this lovely coastal town here, Little Haven. The reason I've called this video Into the Triangle is because one of the names for this particular phenomenon is the Welsh Triangle. Now, obviously it's inspired by the Bermuda Triangle. There's been lots of books written about that, including the one we've shown you. There's also The Uninvited by Stephen Harwood?
The Uninvited is Clive Harrold.
Clive Harrold, that's it. And Peter Paget's The Welsh Triangle. Paget has actually in 2018 self-published a new edition called The Welsh Triangle Revisited. But I think that's quite a good name for it. It's quite a dramatic name to call it The Welsh Triangle.
Actually, it's a triangle because it's the area that goes from Carmarthen down to here and then across to Milford Haven. And that was the area where it was sighted. It was the major flag of sightings.
Yeah, that's it. So I'll also show you some of the sights because it's just a lovely little place. As you can see, we're by the sea. There's this coastal path that goes right up the side of this cliff. There's a house built into the side of the cliff there, see? The brown one. And this is St David's Bay. St Bride's Bay. Alright. This is typical of South Wales coast. Across here, St Bride's Bay. Among these cliff-top residences is the Fort Hotel. Quick pan round here. Ship out at sea still. And there's another ship there. And there's the rock where all the aliens come and boogie. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Herpanmo TV viewers, this is nothing ufological, it's just a little interlude. This is Newgale Beach in Pembrokeshire, Wales. It's just a lovely, lovely location, so we just thought we'd come here to show it to you. This is the roads near Ripperson Farm. Now, Pauline Coombs, the lady who's at the centre of this story, she not only saw strange things on the farm, including humanoids, but various small UFOs were actually following her along this road at night. What do they look like, Rihanna?
Like a ball of light.
Like balls of light, luminosities, orbs, just following her along. I know someone in Oxford who was chased by orbs. Very strange experience. We'll soon be at this mysterious farm. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at Ripperson Farm. The entire book was written, not just, there's a chapter in the Randall Jones Pugh and Halliday book, but an entire book was written about this one element of that story called The Uninvited. This is Lower Ripperson Farm, it says private. But Rhiannon, what's the basic story that happened here? It's a very long, complicated story, isn't it?
So there was a young farming family that moved in, tenant farmers, Pauline and her husband, Mr. and Mrs. Coombs, and their 3 children. And one night, I think how it started was Pauline was in the car with the family driving back at night, and they could see like a ball of light keeping up with the car, the side of the car, and then it suddenly she put her foot down and it kept up with them, and it was basically chasing them down all these back roads. So to get to Ripperson Farm from the road here, I think it's about a mile long track.
It's down there.
Yeah, so all the way down this light chased them, and then it disappeared. And I think at one point she lost power of the car. The headlights went out. The electrical system failed. but when they actually went to check the car the next day, it worked perfectly. So that was how it started. Lots of strange things happened. If you read the uninvited box, there was lots of almost like poltergeist type phenomena. You know, things being lights turning on and off, electrical equipment coming on, lots of strange stuff. And it all culminated with one night. Pauline and her husband were watching TV very late at night, and she suddenly looked up and she saw what was a 7 or 8 foot, basically like a spaceman in a spacesuit, staring at them through the window.
Very similar to what Rosa Glanville saw in the fields of the hotel.
Yeah, but this was literally right outside the farmhouse window.
Yes, it was like it was quite a spooky description.
Yeah. But they also, the children saw humanoid type figures in the fields, and her and Rosa Glanville from the hotel, they both were, I think they were in communication with each other, and I think Rosa would warn Pauline when she saw lights or craft flying across out to sea, and Pauline did, and I think the children as well saw two, basically what they call spacemen, humanoid figures, landing on stack rocks, and like you said earlier, actually going inside the rock.
This is this is interesting because these two women, Rosa Granville and Pauline Coombs, together set up a sky watching network over this whole area of the coastline. We've come along these little very same back roads that she did, and where she used to come to and fro, and now where she was chased by these craft. So it obviously, like, this is like the Groom Lake Road. We can't get down here. But we're going to try and see if we can get a closer look at the farm. And the book is well worth reading. Certainly, I've not read The Uninvited yet, but obviously I've read the Dyfed Enigma. So we're just going to head there now. So hopefully we'll get a look at the farm, and who knows, we might even see something strange ourselves. Some people have just passed. They've gone down this road that says unsuitable for motors, and I don't know how far they're going to get, but they've got like a jeep. But anyway, yeah, apparently what we've heard, I mean, this is where she actually saw, Mrs. Coombs actually saw what sounds like religious type apparitions.
I think they said it to try and discredit what she was saying, but apparently several years before they came here, they were living in a caravan park, I think in Milford Haven, and apparently Pauline would have manifestations of the Virgin Mary outside the caravan, and huge numbers of people would flock to see it, to the extent that the owner of the caravan park eventually had the caravan burnt because he got fed up with all these groups of people coming to see it. So whether or not it's a phenomenon associated with her, because she was apparently meant to be a very psychic lady, that brings in the kind of the goblin universe theory, and you know, whether it's more of a paranormal thing rather than physical aliens.
Yeah, it certainly started very long before 1977 with her own. She clearly long before then she was having these kinds of experiences, which might have led her to become this get involved with this UFO event, which took place in that fateful year in this area. But so that's very interesting, that is. Anyway, we're going to go back now. I'll keep my voice as loud as I can because of the wind on the mic, but we're going to see if we can get. There is apparently a place where, you know, that is the Groom Lake Road, but apparently there is like a side gate where you might get a. Oh my goodness me! I think we've got getting prompted right now. They must have heard me. That, ladies and gentlemen, over there is a Ripperston farm. In the distance, you can see it. But it's interesting. In 1977, of course, this was the site of. It may even have been this field here. Multiple humanoids were seen, aliens, UFOs, everything. It was quite something, wasn't it, Ariane? It was. Funny enough, I lived in this, like I said, I lived not far from here in those days. I was a little child, I was just preschool, you know, but I lived here, and I know nothing about what happened here until I got interested in UFOs. But unfortunately, the people who it's owned by a different family now, and they don't really take any interest, or they're not very cooperative with journalists. That often happens, actually. It was like that with Skinwalker Ranch for a while, until what's his name took it over. What's the name of this guy who has Skinwalker now? I forgot his name. Not Bob Bigelow. He sold it to this other guy. Anyway, he's very, very keen to like get involved with documentaries and things like this. Hopefully someone might buy Ripperston Farm and we could see I don't know, some kind of major ufological study of the area, but
It's just a working farm now.
yeah, a working farm. I asked my mum and dad when I used to speak to them about subjects like this, do you remember any things about strange UFOs when we used to live in Wales when I was a kid? And they said no. But we live further north up in Lampeter, so maybe it was not within the triangle. Anyway, there it is. Okay, ladies and gents, just to give you more of an idea of where we are on this modern map here, you can see that's the crossroads where we're all standing. And that's the route that's unsuitable for motors going down that way. And this is the gateway and the driveway leading to Ribston Farm. This here is Ribston Farm, and this is where basically a lot of things happen. You see the sea beyond it, which we showed you on the camera. And this is where in 1977 a lot of strange things happened, including aliens appearing in these fields. I'm not sure exactly which one, but a large amount of little aliens and sort of flying saucers were seen. So, obviously this is private property, you can't really get in there. It's a working farm now, as Rhiannon explained. But, an important part of ufological lore. It's interesting how so many of these locations, you know, are not available to the public. Some of them are to begin with, and then strange things happen to stop them, as we saw with the Broadhaven School. I don't know if that's a coincidence, but there you go. Hi everyone, we're on St Margaret's Way in Branston now. I'll just show you where it is. We actually have we located the actual house where the witness lives. I'm not going to put the camera on it because I think these days people value privacy more than they do when this book was written. But it is actually published as number 14 St Margaret's Way in Branston, and there it is on the map. Now what we're going to do is, we're sort of at the end of this road here. This map, bear in mind, was made in 1979 when the book was published. We're going to go out of here, turn right, and go. Basically, we're going to reverse the journey done by the witness, the gentleman called Mark Marston, in 1977, when something very unusual happened to him, which we'll explain as we go along. What we're trying to do, you already know what it is. Look, humanoids. We're going to try and find the sewage works down the road from here. So this is St Margaret's Way, as you can see. It's just a pretty ordinary sort of council estate, really, or just a series of houses here in this little cul-de-sac here in South Wales. What happened was we're going to go out. What happened was, we'll show you in a minute. We'll turn right out here, and alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're now at the bottom where we showed you on the map here. That there, we're just about here. This is where the humanoid first appeared, down here. As you can see, there is some kind of... We can get through here. Oh, we can get through here, but I think it's still a sewage farm, you know. Let's have a look. I think it seems still to be a sewage farm after all these years. But this is basically... It was here, wasn't it? It was right here. And we can't get through. See, it's sealed off. Oh, petrol... What's this say? Perigil danger. Cadwch allan, keep out. Asbestos. Right, I can't smell anything. It actually... I don't think it's a sewage farm now. That looks like a sewage farm to you. I mean, if you know anything about sewage farms or a sewage farmologist, perhaps you as a Panmo TV viewer could tell me. But what happened was, it was here he first saw the humanoid here, didn't he? Yeah. And the humanoid is exactly what you've been led to expect. Yeah. Very tall, thin-limbed, silver suit, with a featureless face.
Shall I read it out?
Yeah, please do.
It says, right, okay, so he was out with some friends, and they were... It says, you heard rustling or something like that. Yeah, then something jumped out of the hedge, and I heard some very heavy breathing, very deep. I was going to run. I was walking backwards like this, terrified. What caused you to be terrified? In other words, what did you see? Well, there was a man dressed in silver-like, and his face was black. I couldn't see his face. You saw a man dressed in a silvery suit. What was he like? Was he tall or short? Tall and very thin, skinny. Did it seem to be a mask that he had on his face? A mask like motorcyclists wear? Yeah, and it was all pitch black, pure black. Was it round or square? Squarish, like. Okay then, so we've got a figure which is 6 feet or more high, thinnish, dressed in a silvery suit. Does it look like a space suit type of thing? Yeah, almost the same thing. And then he goes on to say that he
walked up this road, did he?
Yeah.
He walked up this road here with the thing following him.
Yeah. And he heard it following him.
Up this road.
He started to get scared and he started to run.
Yeah. Just imagine this is late at night, you're on this lane here. I don't know if this gate was here at the time, but just imagine you're on this road late at night. There's nothing around you, it's all dark, hootings of owls, and this is the hedges where it must have jumped out, or the hedges probably back there, these hedges here, if they were there at the time. And he came all the way back here. And
We got onto the road and then he said, so what was this thing doing under the light? Well, it was standing and watching.
which light was that?
It must have been when he got onto the main road. There must have been a split. Yeah, there, look, see there's a street light there? He must have got up to there
Oh yeah,
and there's a street light.
right.
And he said, I was standing still watching him and he was standing still watching me and he was wriggling his fingers like this.
Oh right.
So what
Like-
that's about, I don't know.
Like that. That's scary.
Feet slightly apart and wriggling his fingers.
That's about frightened me if that was late at night. And this is it, ladies. This is up here he went, on this little lane here. This is the road he went up all that time. Okay, right, so you may proceed now, sir. You may proceed.
Where am I going now?
Just very slowly go up here. And this is where he was walking backwards, scared out of his wits, because this thing was doing this with his hand following him. So you can imagine how scared he was. He went up to this street light here. Now you've got to imagine this is late at night. This is the only light in the village, maybe window lights as well. He carried on up here. It seems like he's a long way from home. I mean, we know where St Margaret's Road was. That was you see, there's traffic here tonight, but there'd have been none at that time, would there? There'd have been just nobody. What time was this in the evening again? It was like it was dark now, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was dark by the time he got home. Yeah.
This was around the not far. I think this is quite close to the time of the Broadhaven school incident. Although weird things went on all that year. They even started beforehand.
This was in April of
April, right.
1977.
So it's around that same time as year as now.
Yeah.
And he went up here, he ran up here. Do you imagine what it must be, how dark it must have been? It's quite a long way. Until he came to his home street, which it must have been a relief for him to get to St Margaret's Way, which is here. And finally managed to go up that road to his own home, which is on the right-hand side up here. That must have been quite a relief, I think. So yeah, just can you imagine that, Herpanmo TV viewers, what it must have been like for him? This is the Western Telegraph, the local newspaper for the area, which reckoned that children at Broadhaven saw a fireman dressed in a fireman's suit playing a trick on them. Well, that same fireman was seen at Littlehaven, at Herbranston, and every other place in the world. How strange. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're now on the A484 between Carmarthen and Kidwelly, and we're actually heading to a place. What happened was a lady called Mrs. Bassett, no relation to Steve, used to run a restaurant in Carmarthen in 1977, and she actually was on her way home late one night, 1 AM in the morning, along this road here. And in a moment we're going to get to a place called Idole. Just before she goes into Idole, she saw a strange thing on the left-hand side of the road. A black mass, she described it as, with a blue light flashing. She thought it was an emergency vehicle at first, but as she got closer she realised it was some kind of strange, she said it was like nebulous, an amorphous, foggy thing. How far are we close? How close are we to Idole now? And is this come through? This has come through this town beyond. Right, we've got to go a bit further than this. And
just 2 days after the Broadhaven school thing.
Correct, yes, it was just 2 days later after the Broadhaven encounter. This was a smart businesswoman, you know, she was a married woman, had children. She also had 3 dogs, and it's very important, we'll talk about the dogs later. And she wasn't the sort to make things up. In fact, she was quite reluctant to come forward originally and speak to Randall Jones Pugh. But as we went there, we just take a big, this is where we take a big turn to the left, and we get into, now we head tonight we head down here to Adole. It was on somewhere on the fields on our left in a moment. There's a fork off to the left, and it's after that.
Here we are.
Adole, right. So somewhere on the fields to our left here was where she saw it. I don't know if these hedges were here in those days. But somewhere on these fields to, well, there's no fields now to our left, but we don't know exactly where it was. It was just before we go to Adole. We're in Adole now, so we've gone past the actual spot. What's very strange is she sees it again a couple of miles further down, so she carries on along here. She's quite upset and concerned. It wasn't an emergency vehicle, she realises. It was off the road. She carries on along down here towards Llandafaelog. There's something called Pontatwn first. You have to imagine again late at night there probably wasn't much traffic around. Very, very dark. She was frightened. She saw it, and then something else weird happens. Stop for a moment. Okay, somewhere along here, just before we get to Llandafaelog, which is this town there, just to our left, it's actually marked on the map. We'll show.
The pylons that she spoke about.
Oh yeah, the pylons, right. So it's around here, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's somewhere around here, towards our left here. She saw it again, the very same thing. This is Llandafaelog. It's in the. We'll show you the map in the book in a minute, but it's round about here. Don't know exactly where. That she saw the very same thing again just a couple of minutes later. So she was very. She actually stopped at this point to look at it, but then got in the car and carried on. She was very concerned to get home to her dog. She lives in Ferryside, which we're going to go to in a minute. The way to Ferryside, we go south for a little bit further, then we turn right onto a smaller road, which takes us to Ferryside, which is on the Towy estuary. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is in Ferryside, which is where Mrs. Bassett lived. And we've got to just now find her home. She would have gone somewhere through this village late at night, very frightened, very concerned, thinking about her dogs, which had been in all day. And we're now going to try and locate her house. See, I don't know if we'll be able to get to it. It's a place called Portiscliffe, which is slightly to the south of Ferryside along the Towy estuary. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Portiscliffe. This is where Mrs. Bassett lived. We don't know who lives here now. It's been many years later. We speculated she might still be there. We're going to leave her in peace if she is. But she arrived home late at night, and she had 3 little Springer Spaniels. And they all ran out. Normally they run out to greet her. They're very, very pleased to see her, as dogs are, you know. But tonight something was a little bit different. The dogs were cowering in the house, looking very, very frightened. When she appeared, they dashed out of the house, not to greet her, but to get away from the house, like they were terrified of something. She and her husband went out to look for the dogs, calling their names. 2 of them came back. One of them, Jasper, didn't. He was out all night. She and her husband wandered all these woods you see around me, and all the way around this area we're seeing now, calling his name. He eventually returned in the early hours of the morning, very, very frightened. Despite the fact that all 3 dogs were very disturbed, the two who had come back straight away eventually returned to normal, as normality returned to their lives. As dogs do, they got over it and they just went back to normal. Jasper did not. He experienced a permanent personality change. He lost all his vigour, his zest for life, and he became frightened, withdrawn, as if he was suffering from the canine equivalent of PTSD. This leads me to believe that little dog was abducted by aliens. You may think that's crazy. Aliens only abduct humans, but how do you know? We only know because there's voluminous literature about alien abduction of humans. However, that's because humans can talk, humans can report it. Why wouldn't aliens also abduct other animals to study as well? Jasper never really recovered from what he experienced the first time. It's as if this phenomenon followed Mrs. Bassett all the way from Carmarthen to right here in Ferryside that night. She saw the craft twice. The same vehicle, either the same vehicle or 2 identical vehicles. She eventually arrived here at her home at Portiscliffe. It's right up this road here. Of course, it's a private road. We're not going to intrude on her privacy, or the privacy of whoever lives there now. But something was following her that night, and this was just 2 days after the Broadhaven School encounter in February 1977. Something very strange was going on in this part of Wales at that time, that year. Now, on the other side of the Towey estuary, right opposite Ferryside, there's Llansteffan is there. Now, someone over there, right over where you're looking now, also saw something strange. So this was multiple witness sightings in multiple locations. We already mentioned that Rosa Granville and Pauline Coombs had set up essentially a skywatching network. But this was inadvertent, but this had actually happened. Now, I'll just show you the map. Just to refresh your memories where we've come. This is Carmarthen here, and this dotted line represents Mrs. Bassett's route home to Idale. So the first object is seen. A bit further down you get to Llandafaelog, where she turns left and heads towards Ferryside, and finally Porter's Cliff, where she lives. And that there is the Towey estuary. We're heading back now from our little adventure today, and I was just thinking about UFO flaps and how to compare them. For example, there are many similarities with other events, as I've already explained the similarity between the Broadhaven event and Rua and Westall. The general flap, though, in 1977 here in the Welsh Triangle, does it have any parallels elsewhere? Yes. For example, the Warminster, it has some similarities to the Warminster events of the late 60s and early 70s, or indeed Point Pleasant. In the early 1960s, there was a whole series of events. But to compare it, for example, to Point Pleasant, and if you've ever read The Mothman Prophecies by John Keel, it's a strange book, unusual in style for one of its nature. However, most of the things that were reported in that book actually did happen. They've been confirmed by other researchers, and the witnesses are available and things like that. However, Randall Jones Pugh came to a very similar conclusion to Keel, one that he called the Goblin Universe, which is that essentially we're dealing with things outside our universe that intrude into it. And he drew comparisons with Celtic, Anglo-Saxon and Norse mythology, fairies and elves, trolls, etc. However, there's no doubt that the UFO phenomenon is physical. There are things to do with UFOs leave footprints, they leave debris. There is physical evidence associated with them, as if they are solid objects and biological entities. They're capable of kidnapping, for example. However, they do have the etheric quality that mythological beings do as well, the ability to alter their surroundings, to deaden sounds, to control the human mind, to appear and disappear at will. These things, no doubt, are also a part of the UFO phenomenon. So I do think the answer lies in some kind of combination of the two, and the two are not mutually exclusive. I think such a thing is possible. It's peculiar, isn't it?
Want to say a bit about how Randall Pugh ended up thinking they went to Holland?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll talk to you privately about that. Then we'll do another shoot, right? I need to know the details. I know he did an interview with Matthew Williams. So, it's an interesting idea. But the similarities are there. For example, the beings, the biological entities that were seen are quite similar throughout this entire flap. Tall, humanoids, with long limbs, strange clothing, and faceless. You know, faceless probably meaning they're wearing some kind of headgear, very similar to a human astronaut's. In this way, they resemble the strange Solway Firth spaceman, the photograph taken by Jim Templeton of his daughter in Cumbria. So, what's the full answer? That's what we're here to find out. Well, good morning. It's Sunday morning. I've had a very good sleep, seeing as I had a bit of insomnia last night. And it's a beautiful day here in South Wales, as you can see. Really, really nice. And, well, I'm going to be going out in a minute, but my hosts have provided me with some reading material in case I couldn't sleep again. One of them is the good old FT. That's the latest edition. It's got lots of stuff on Ukraine. But there's two articles I want to bring to your attention. Which actually have updates on things that I covered. on Panmo Voice. Now this is about the work of Dr. Ajmal Zamar, who discovered that he thinks he may have photographed or recorded brainwaves of someone having a near-death experience. And there's a little addition here talking about how it's not the same as the DMT experience, so kind of trying to debunk Rick Strassman. What it also does, though, it kind of puts a bit of a dampener on the skeptic party, which came from this particular study, which claimed, well, here you are, this is what an NDE is. Because an NDE is just a function of the brain, and we've captured that function of the brain. It's just a single study, but we know it's organised enough to produce the NDE experience. However, Rick Strassman, as you know, he said that DMT was part of that experience, and that he kind of stopped being a materialist as a result. Now, where's the other one? Go through here. Loads of stuff in here. I used to subscribe to this, but I kind of went off. I went off it because it got a bit silly. The Return of the Silent Vulcan. Now that refers to this series of UFO incidents that took place in Ireland a couple of weeks ago. This is by Jenny Randalls. Apparently it's very similar to some that were seen in 1978. It's back again. I covered this on a Panmo Voice. Thomas Sheridan mentioned it as well. Interesting stuff. So, yeah, I mean, if I am short of something to do, you know, I've got more 14 times to read there. So that's great. Thank you very much to my hosts for that. I'm in the Cwncerig Farm Shop. It's like a very, very successful local business that stocks only things from the local area. And it's nice they have things like that. See, this is all local produce from local farms. Hence the name Farm Shop. This is all Welsh salted butter and Welsh salted margarine. Selwyn's extraordinary laver bread, yes, and this is. Do you recognise this from a previous programme? That's what Rhiannon bought me. That's what Rhiannon bought me for the during the last time I was away at Weird Weekend North. I'm now going to have a look around and see what's here. These pies here look really nice, don't they? And there's like this says hundreds of products from the local area. That's Carmarthenshire, and thousands from Wales. So possibly in the near future we're going to need more places like this, because you know the big international chains are going to be collapsing as the Illuminati themselves collapse. So as you see here, take your pick. Looks very nice, doesn't it? And this lot survived the lockdown. It survived the pandemic, survived everything like that, which is really, really good. Gives me hope for the future. Here we have Welsh bottles of beer. Thomas Watkins Coolidge Crisp beer. Nice, that, isn't it? And of course, cider. Gwynta Drag. That means Wind of the Dragon. Welsh cider. Scrumpy. That's the strong, that's you see 5.3% by volume. Farmhouse Cloudy cider. Nice that is, but it's absolutely deadly. I might knock your socks off that one. Vintage Scrumpy. Perry as well, pear cider that is like. So it's like baby sham, things like that. And of course my Disclosure champagne. But it's this is like the proper stuff, you know. Black Dragon cider. Nice. I'll get a couple of bottles of these. I'll go down nicely with dinner, that will. Because we're here to get some. Rhiannon's cooking like a big dinner tonight, so because it's Sunday today, so we're having a Sunday roast. And so I might get some of that cider to go with it. Lovely. Hello everyone, I'm in Rhiannon's garden and it's very, very nice. You can see there's these little owls, and there's an owl and a gargoyle. They come around here, there's a pond, and it's a really, apparently there's a frog in there, she thinks, but we don't know. It'll make an appearance eventually, but that'd be really good. I mean, if you have a pond like that, but you don't have to put the frogs in it, they find it. And there's also a stray cat that comes into this area, and Rhiannon feeds it. Which is good actually, because it won't go after the birds and things if you do that. But it's a beautiful day. Look at the sky. No chemtrails. There's a plane going over right now, but it's not leaving a trail. It's the contrails dissolving straight away. There's literally not a cloud in the sky, not a single chemtrail, which is nice considering the previous weekend, when the Easter weekend, when it was chemtrails galore. As you know, if you read Her Panama Voice, I did cover that at the time. So, and it's actually quite cool. It looks warm, but it's actually quite cool right now. So it's a beautiful Sunday morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you may be able to just see through the trees there. There is a wind turbine. At least that's what it appears to be. You may have heard a weird noise. You just see the blades going around there. I'll just turn around there so you can see me. I'll just zoom out so you're not looking at my nose. There we go. Whoops! No, you're looking even more at my nose there. That's it. Now, we're a bit concerned, you know, because sorry, I'm on a rocking chair. But, oh yeah, I'm on this rocking chair. It's got a balance. By the way, if you ever have a hangover, don't sit on a rocking chair, whatever you do. We're a bit concerned about this because you can hear the noise. It's actually stopped now. The noise. You know, it's starting again. It makes a weird noise. Now, according to Rhiannon, and a lot of other people reported this, the hum is present in this area. The hum is something that is seen all over the world, or heard all over the world. It's a very strange phenomenon because it's an irritating humming noise. And no matter what you do, wherever you go, it's always there. Now, I know people who have to live their whole lives with earplugs. They can't sleep without earplugs because of it. And it's apparently in this house. Did you get it a lot, Rhiannon? I've been listening out. Apparently it's not been here since I've been here. It's not been around. But if it happens, I'll let you know. Some people blame them on the infrasound produced by wind turbines. Other things have been blamed for them. For example, extremely low frequency radio transmissions. But the hum appears in areas where those things are not present. It's very weird. Janet and Colin Board talk about it in their Modern Mysteries books. And what's really weird is that one of them, the hum changed when the other one turned their head, as if there was some kind of filter through one person's head to the other. It's very weird. One of them, either Janet or Colin, I can't remember, was hearing it filtered through the head of the other one, or the ears of the other one. But, can you hear it? We were wondering if there's some kind of scam going on. I've got no proof of this, but according to Rhiannon, that wind turbine rotates even when there's no wind and others are all still. Isn't that weird? The thing is, we're close to Pembrokeshire. This is Carmarthenshire, but in Pembrokeshire that's where all the oil and gas terminals are, and there's a lot of depots for liquid petroleum gas and things like that. Now, we're wondering if maybe the local company has some kind of scam going. I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past them. One of the reasons the turbine rotates when there's no wind is because it's not a real wind turbine. It doesn't have a dynamo in it. It has a motor to rotate the turbine. Why would they do this? Very, very simple. The Green New Deal. The government are subsidising renewable energy companies right now to a huge degree. If you were not a renewable energy company, you were like an LPG producer, which has served power stations with liquid petroleum gas and non-renewables, why not pretend you're a renewable company so you get those government subsidies, eh? It's fiendish. I can't help admiring their scheming genius. So they put up a thing which looks like a wind turbine, put a motor in it so the thing goes round, and they gobble up all that taxpayers' money. And all the time they're not producing any renewable electricity. I don't know if that's actually true, but it is the perfect explanation to explain the weirdness of this particular turbine. Anyway, the birds are getting excited now. There's lots of birds in this garden. But I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my cup of coffee, my morning cup of coffee in the garden. It looks hot. It's actually not that hot. It's actually quite cool this morning, but it's very pleasant. I'm still out here. It's so nice out here this morning. We're just sitting here having coffee. And I should add a little bit more to what I said earlier. First, I've got to apologise to Ellis Taylor. Ellis Taylor, you'll know if you watch regularly, lives in this area. Well, he lives in Pembrokeshire. And he's got his channel where he's been doing a lot of like ley line. He's been divining ley lines, what he calls is the dragon line. So he's got this series called Divining a Thraig. A Thraig is Welsh for the dragon. And I did promise if I was ever in this area I'd drop in and see him, and I haven't been able to because I've been on quite a tight filming schedule. So Ellis, if you're watching this, sorry mate, I'll see you when you're back in Oxford. I've also found, well, I've been talking to Rhiannon about the hum, and apparently if you report it, you won't get any help. The local authorities don't send out the noise control people. Like if your neighbour's playing loud music, they'll do that. They'll come around and look at evidence. They'll record it. They won't do that for the hum. Now, the hum often doesn't appear on recordings. It's not tinnitus. Now some people claim it's tinnitus. I get a bit of tinnitus, just very minor. Just lasts a couple of minutes. Every couple of weeks. I've had it my whole life. Tinnitus is internal. It's generated from inside your ear, your nerves, the nerves in your ear. So when you put your fingers in your ear like that, you can still hear it. In fact, I do that. It goes away when I do that. A hum is external. It's something you're actually hearing, but it doesn't appear to have any sound. But you describe it as sort of coming and going. It's like a generator noise.
Yeah, it sounds like it's constant. It's always there, but it starts and stops, and there's no actual pattern to it.
It's like it's strange. Rhiannon works from home like many people, and she has a study. And you have to play. You said you have to play music.
Put background music on because it's so distracting.
Oh dear! She has to play music to drown it out. This is really debilitating if you hear it all the time. I will let you know if I hear it. I hope I do. Obviously I don't have to live here, so I don't have to put up with it all the time. So it'd be interesting to hear it. The wind turbines produce infrasound. That's very low frequency noise, which you can't actually hear it, but it does affect the nervous system. And some people blame that for the hum. The problem is the hum was around before there were a lot of wind turbines all over the place. And it occurs in places where there are no wind turbines. So it's a mystery. Obviously, it's Janet and Colin Board's book. I'll have to reread that. And I know you've got a copy, Rhiannon, and I might go have a look at the chapter on the hum, actually. That'd be quite interesting. Because they've got one chapter in there called Random Mysteries. I'll tell you what the one that really scared me when I was a kid, and this is Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World as well. I talked about this in Weird Weekend North. The disappearing people. That scared me. Did you read the chapter on that where?
I read the bit about, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. There was one story of the only place I could confirm it. There was like a German video on YouTube about it. Was this girl disappeared from her bedroom, and the father ran out to fetch help. They looked all over for her, couldn't find her, and thought she might fell out of bed or something. Couldn't find her under the bed or anything. Ran out into the street because they didn't have a phone in their house. He ran towards the phone box. Before he reached the phone box, he heard a voice in his ear saying, "We have returned her." Just heard it in his ear, "We have returned her." He went back to the house. She was sitting in bed. Isn't that spooky? It was somewhere in Kent. I can't remember the actual day, but these German people did track down the family. They looked through the registry. These German paranormal investigators, and they did find the family actually existed. So because people thought they might have made it up, but that is a good book. It's out of print, but it's probably been PDF'd a few places. But I would get hold of a copy if you can. That's Modern Mysteries of Britain by Janet and Colin Board. Rhiannon's gone indoors now just to make breakfast for me, actually, and for herself. And so I'm just sitting here thinking about other things. Well, I'm watching the the birds on the bird table and just see that there's some birds, and there's a bird table. If you can see that, just check it's on there. She's got a bird table. She feeds the birds, and there's a hawk that keeps flying over. I think it's a red kite. They're called, sort of pink-coloured bird, which is a bird of prey. And every time it flies over, the birds all scarper. But apparently it does sometimes grab the birds, this off from the bird table, this hawk. I was just thinking about things going on in the world at the moment, because there's the French election is happening today. What's happening? I'm just going to check something. Oh, sorry, I'm just checking something. The French presidential election is happening today. Now I'm going to do a video, you'll see it before you see this one probably, which will be a live stream about, probably a live stream about the French presidential election. I'll do that as soon as I get home. I'll put the notice up for the live stream when I get home, which is tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And my ears are itching again. I hope Le Pen wins, obviously. And Marine Le Pen is like, she's the French Trump. Emmanuel Macron is a horrible little globalist shit. I hope he loses. Well, what will happen, I don't know. But I think Le Pen's probably in with the best chance ever, because the Gaullists, that is the Republican Party in France, have been completely wiped out in this election, along with the Socialists. The Gaullists and Socialists have basically been the party, they dominated French politics from the 70s until now. You know, politicians like long-term presidents like Francois Mitterrand, Jacques Chirac, these people have all been part of those parties. They're kind of like the mainstream centrist parties. They've dominated French politics. They're now out on their ear. Macron basically Macron was actually put in quite late in the game in the last election, because basically to draw people's fire away, because he was kind of like an independent, but they gave him a party to run with, and then he took the presidency. And despite what I said earlier, I actually made a mistake. It was not, well, it could well, there would have been rigging for Macron, but there would have been rigging for Macron. But the vote was so overwhelming, you know, rigging can't account for it. Unfortunately, people did vote for Macron. You can't save people from themselves, unfortunately. This time it seems to be different, because there was this other party. There was this guy called Mélenchon, who was a far leftist. He was the equivalent of Jeremy Corbyn, a Jeremy Corbyn type character, Bernie Sanders type character, and he came third. He almost overtook Le Pen. Now, he's gone and told his followers not to vote for Le Pen. He hasn't told them to vote for Macron, he just says don't vote for Le Pen. Well, you know, some of them will vote for Le Pen. And I'm hoping more of them will vote for Le Pen than vote for Macron. And the reason is, Le Pen's been called a far-right candidate, but she's actually quite left-wing in some ways. For example, her economic policy is very protectionist, and there's a lot of monetarism and protectionism in her economic policy. She's not going to raise the pension age, the retirement age, which is traditionally very low in France. Most people can retire in their mid to late 50s. Macron was going to put it up. Macron did put it up a bit, I think. Macron was really in with the lockdown, which is very unpopular in France. French people are naturally rebellious. France is a naturally unstable society, unlike Britain. They're always having different republics, and they have rebellions, and these rebellions are often accompanied by riots and very often judicial beheadings, which I won't say any more about Macron and judicial beheadings because community guidelines, but you probably guess what I hope will happen as a result of that. Yes, they'll get the old guillotine out again. Yes, dust off the guillotine. But I'm hoping that will happen. But I will find, by the time, literally, by the time I get home, before I leave to go home tomorrow, we'll know who's won and who's lost. Either way, I'll do a live stream. to be honest, even if Le Pen breaks all her promises, and she's already broken a few, she's abandoned Frexit, which is an absolute disaster, I think. I think that's very disappointing for her to do that. Even if she betrays everything she's promised, it'll be worth it just to see the Guardian melt down over the whole thing. Just to see all the people who had Trump derangement syndrome come back with Le Pen derangement syndrome. It'll be worth it for that, it really will. What's happening is we also have the local council elections. I won't actually be in Oxford to vote for them because it's actually Thursday week, and I'll be away. I'm actually going away overnight to visit someone I know online and I've never actually met. So we've decided to meet up. So I'm going to a little mini meet-up with her and a couple of other friends. So I will actually not be in Oxford to vote, but who gives a shit? I mean, the local council elections in Oxford are very boring. We know Labour are going to win. Labour have supermajority in Oxford's local council. In Oxford City Council, they have a supermajority Labour. Lib Dems have about 9 seats of the 48 in the council, of the various wards. The only wards where the Greens have 3. Now, funnily enough, I used to live in a very green area. I used to live in St Clements, which is a very green area. I lived there when I first came to Oxford, and I went back to live there when I split up from my partner, who's my daughter's mother, and I lived there for about 8 years. They have you go through, there's green party posters everywhere. So where the wards where the Greens have like a presence, they're very, very devout. They have they tend to win. They tend to have a supermajority within that ward. So it's a council seat that is guaranteed to go green, and this one will as well. Occasionally, like UKIP, I think UKIP will put a candidate up somewhere. You always know when they put a candidate up somewhere because all the sort of bohemian chic people in St Clements go nuts. They start putting up UKIP hate posters. If you read her Panmo voice, you'll know I walked up Southfield Road, which is like a St Clements area, and there was like someone had ripped up a UKIP flyer and put it on their garden wall, weighed it down with stones to say, I hate UKIP, they're horrible racists and sexists and misogynists, homophobes. So it'll be quite funny. I would probably vote for UKIP just for the hell of it, actually, if I was voting in the election. So it would just be fun to vote for them, I think, just to give them a couple of extra votes. I mean, just to give them an extra vote, almost just as a gesture. Anyway, guys, let me just know what you think. That's not what this video is about, of course, but that one is coming up very soon. I look forward to having my breakfast now. Honestly, Rhiannon and her husband really look after me so well. They really do. They're a lovely couple. They just, Mike, her husband, he's a skeptic, and he's sort of like, he's totally not anti-woo, but you know what? He's been absolutely great. He's been. Thanks very much. Cheers. He drove us around yesterday, right, with a sort of half smile on his face because he doesn't believe in any of this. But he sort of like, he was sitting there going like this, very, very patient with us, very tolerant. So thanks very much for that, Mike. Yeah, but if only all skeptics were like him. Anyway, today Rhiannon and Mike are taking me somewhere, and they haven't told me where it is. It's going to be a surprise, so we'll find out later. I'm just filming now. Look at the mountain in the distance, isn't it lovely? What we're doing at the moment is we're going somewhere. My hosts have not told me where we're going. It's a bit of a surprise, so we'll soon find out. But I'm just enjoying the views of the lovely scenery and everything. It's like wonderful here in Wales. See some of the landscape. It's lovely. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Black Mountains of the Brecon Beacons National Park. And you can see, this is the kind of landscape you may have seen previously on my 2014 Berwyn Mountains 40 video. It's a kind of, you get a lot of this in Wales, but it's rare in England. I mean, you get it in the Pennines and places like that, but most of England is low-lying and densely populated. A lot of Wales is quite desolate and rugged and unpopulated like this. We're on a mountain pass going through the Black Mountains. Look at the, look amazing. It's beautiful actually in the sunlight. It's called the Black Mountains, but they're kind of like grey. But there's an awful lot of strange things happening around this area. And you can see the cars in the distance there. It shows you how this gives you a scale of things. How much have you read of your Alien Investigator book, Rhiannon? Alright, there's a book by Tony Dodd called Alien Investigator. I think I've mentioned this before. He tells some rather creepy and quite frightening stories about this part of the world, this particular area. Not only UFOs have been seen in this area, and aliens, but there's been some quite frightening incidents involving the mutilation phenomenon, because the mutilation phenomenon is not, we know it's not confined to cattle, it affects other species as well, but it also affects humans. And Tony Dodd has investigated cases which humans have turned up dead with these injuries. I mean, why should we think of ourselves as different? I mean, it's possible that the aliens doing the mutilations don't actually regard humans as anything special and worthy of special treatment, which is a rather humbling and scary prospect. And bodies have been found in this area. Tony Dodd actually had a friend who claimed to be part of a special forces unit that specifically to deal with it. And Tony died, and a lot of his notes were handed to Richard D. Hall, and Richard actually managed to find this guy and do an interview with him. There's a video on his channel called Human Mutilations and NATO, which I recommend watching, but it's not for the squeamish, put it that way. I still don't know exactly where we're going yet. My hosts haven't told me, but it's going to be interesting to find out. But I wouldn't come up here on your own at night, put it that way. The view here is spectacular. We just went past a parking space actually. It was deliberately set up. There's even an ice cream van there, obviously especially so people can admire the view. There's over this valley here is incredible. This is look at that. It's very rare you see a sight like that. It's incredible. There's the mountains over there, and they come slowly down and eventually become farmland down here. So there's some people out on bikes here, very brave people, obviously very energetic, desperate to keep fit. The only structure I've seen is like this kind of stone structure, and according to Rhiannon, there was limestone mines here. There you go. I'll just let you enjoy the view. We're heading now along this tiny little country road. I'm still none the wiser of exactly where we're going. So in a moment I'll hopefully get like a little shot of the valley we're over, because it's absolutely beautiful. The clouds are sort of moving, casting their shadows onto the landscape, and it's really quite lovely. Yeah, this view will give you an example of the very extreme geography of this area. You see the shadows of the clouds on the mountains there. That's the Brecon Beacons. Well, the mystery's been solved. We're at the Red Kite Feeding Centre here in the mountains of Wales. And Llandaison.
There you go.
And this is basically where it's like a sanctuary for birds of prey. So I'll let you know more as soon as I find out more. But there's a gentleman here who's like gonna feed the birds for us. Ah, here we go. Red Kite Feeding Station. Here we go. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag. Tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. We're here at the Welsh Crane Trust, and you can see at the back all the notice boards. I'll just turn it around like that. It'll take a couple of seconds for the camera to adjust, but it's like a bird hide. It's like a bird hide for viewing birds, for bird watchers. What we're going to do here is wait for a minute, because there's some people here that are going to, I think they're going to probably release some little birds out here somewhere, and then the big birds will come and eat them. They should be. What do they just, do they? Oh right, they don't.
Steak.
Oh, steak, they're getting steak, oh I'm sorry. They don't actually get birds, oh I see, okay. So when I was sitting in your garden, I was sort of, part of me was thinking, is that big bird going to come down and eat one of the little ones? I'm horrible, I'm mean. Anyway, ladies and gents, we'll see what happens next. I don't know if you can make out on the camera, but the birds have already arrived. These are the red kites, and you can see them. They're circling. Ginger bastards, my hosts call them. But only that when they go after the birds at the bird table. I think they probably know that dinner time's coming, because they may have seen people arrive, or they may be used to the time of day. Animals are quite good actually at guessing the time without even though they can't read clocks. So I think they're always pretty soon that we will see the birds go for whatever it is they feed them. Apparently they don't feed them little birds, they feed them steak. Okay, so it's not quite as dramatic as we thought. But this is not very ufological, I know, a bit different, but I thought you viewers would appreciate this. I certainly appreciate being brought here.
They are flying objects.
Yeah, we're going from unidentified flying objects to identified flying objects. Yes, very Jenny Randalls of us, isn't it? Now, we actually have like some, what I thought were pigeons there. We haven't spotted them. They're actually not real, they're decoys. It's not moving, you see, it's completely still. I don't know what purpose they serve, because they shouldn't need to attract these birds of prey, because I mean the presence of like some lumps of meat should be enough. You see them over there by a group of sheep, there's another one. Yeah. Just sitting there. Presumably the experts know all about what they're doing, so let's see what happens next. Right, the sky's filling with these birds, these hawks. There must be dozens up there now. Apparently they've worked out now what's going on. As I said, they've seen a lot of people here. They know feeding time's coming, so they're sort of circling like vultures, whatever they are. They're not by nature scavengers. They are actually predators. But you know, if someone does chuck something their way, they'll be happy to pick it up. So the sky is really filling with them. And this chap, I think, is going to feed them. He's actually from up north, like you.
Yeah,
this guy, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got like a North Country English accent.
Down here.
There we go. The food is just kept in this bin in the middle of in this field. You'd think why the birds would come down and raid it. Oh, there we go. Look at that! Oh! Can you see them? Do you see that? Whoa! Look at them. These are like lumps of steak. The lumps of raw meat he's throwing for the birds. Look at him go. There's these lumps there, so someone's going to come down and grab them. Looks like Alfred Hitchcock, isn't it? It's like they should go straight down, straight up again. They don't want to hang around on the ground. Just grab it and get out of there quickly. It'd be much easier if they just landed and sort of walked along, but they don't. They have to swoop down and grab things. Look how many of them there are. It's sort of like they come in waves, don't they? So there's none at all now swooping down, and suddenly they all come down in one go.
It's amazing, really, when you think it wasn't that long ago we nearly lost them completely. You know, there was something ridiculous like 7 breeding pairs less. They had the army protecting them. They were so endangered.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so sad if we lost them. They're lovely birds. Look, they're called red kites. They're kind of a pinkish,
now they're doing really, really
orangey
well.
colour. Yeah. I'm so glad. They're quite common, I think. Like I've seen them in Oxford.
Yeah, you get them everywhere now.
When I was a kid, they never used to come into the city, but now they do. And they're off. Wherever I go in Oxford, I see usually one of these or similar birds sort of patrolling the skies. And the reason is the useless bin collections has led to loads of rats. They go in after the rats. I've never actually, I never saw an adult living rat until like about 10 years ago. That's an amazing sight, it really is. That there is the hide, as you can see. That's where all the bird watchers go, so they don't scare the birds off, and that's where the birds actually come down and eat their food. It's a lovely location, beautiful location. Oh, look at that, you can pause and read that, but it's about the Black Prince. You can pause and read it, but basically this is a pub. This is the restaurant area of the pub. And this is supposedly the arm of the Black Prince wore. I don't know if that's true, because there's several suits of armour here, but and there's somebody being knighted by a queen. I don't know if that's him, the prince. There's a sword up here, look. And that's something in Latin. Oh, there's a Latin motto on there. I'm in a pub called the Red Lion in Llantyfadog, here in Wales. And there is the Red Lion. This is the outside of the pub, in the Red Lion pub, and it's got this lovely ivy all up it. It must be really old. This is a really old pub, and there's more ivy over there. And this was probably like stables and mews and things in the old days. Looks really nice, doesn't it? As you see, it's still quite nice up there. There's a red kite up there as well. They fully followed us. Very nice weather at the moment still. A bit cloudier now. In the pub, just thought I'd give you an update on the election. Mike is he's on his phone at the moment getting the updates. It's now about 4:10, which means by 5 PM we should have an exit poll at 6 PM GMT. Polls close at 8 PM, is that right? It's about 8 PM. But the French overseas territories have already declared. Unlike the British overseas territories, French overseas territories are considered part of France. They're not as independent as, say, Saint Helena is, and they're allowed to vote in the French elections. And they previously voted all for Macron. They voted for Le Pen. So yeah. That's a good start. Bait souse the islanders. Don't mess with them. Don't let those log canoes get in your way. Or don't get in the way of the log canoes, guys. We should. Of course, opinion polls are putting Macron ahead. I mean, they have to. They have to, don't they? I mean, they can't just say, "Oh, Le Pen's actually ahead." You know, they can't. These are push polls. Some Mélenchon voters are voting for Le Pen. Others are voting for Macron. GB News is surprisingly unbased over this, which is a shame. They say it's going to be an upheaval for the EU if Le Pen is elected, but unfortunately Le Pen has abandoned Frexit, which is, I think, silly of her. We don't even know if she's going to do everything she's promised she's going to do, but if only to see the Le Pen derangement syndrome, that's reason enough to want her to win. Just to watch the Guardian lovies completely break down and start slobbering in their tears. It'll be reason enough, I think. But what I hope is that she will be Francis Trump. She will immediately start carrying out a revolutionary agenda in France and pull France out of the New World Order. I mean, that's what I hope will happen. It's a long shot. If Macron gets in, well, it's not over yet. That's something I have discussed on her Panmo Voice, and I will discuss in the upcoming live stream. But at the moment, so far so good. Heading out the pub right now. Here we are. What does it say here? No glasses beyond this point. I better take mine off then. Oh, wait a minute. I can't see where I'm going. Oh dear, I can't see.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in Llandalo. Now apparently this is the posh part of Carmarthenshire. Is that true?
Yeah.
Very posh now. It's all like some big bungalows and things. There's probably they've got a Ukrainian flag. Well, that's an indicator. Yeah, they probably voted Remain in the referendum. They're probably, Micah said they're a town of cucks, which doesn't surprise me. In other words, it's a bit like Oxford, really. Has this town been twinned with Oxford? Probably is. Probably will do. I know there's jazz music here because I've seen a poster for jazz music in Llandalo.
We have something called the Festival of the Senses. That's one object.
The Festival of the Senses? That does sound like something that belongs in Paris, not in Wales. But yeah, this is it doesn't seem all that bad. It doesn't seem terribly posh right now. I'm only driving through it, so I can't really tell. But you know, I mean, it could turn out to be not what I thought, but apparently it's full of cucks. So that's it. That's a local is informing, Mike. A local is informing it's full of cucks. So yeah. Anyway, we're almost out of it now. It's quite a small place. So, goodbye, Llandalo.
Good morning, everyone. It's Monday morning. It's the day I go home, although I don't actually have to leave until this afternoon, so I don't have to rush about very much. I can spend a little while with my friends here in Wales. Bit of bad news, well, several bits of bad news. Firstly, my cracked lips. As you know, I've said this before. When I go away, I somehow get very dry lips. Now, I've tried to work out why that is. It may be different food, because I eat very differently usually when I'm away. I think maybe I get dehydrated, but I've drunk extra water this time and still got it. I think it may be psychological. Like a lot of my health problems, they have a psychological base. Secondly, Emmanuel Macron has been re-elected President of France. You know you guess how I feel about that, but I'll say more about that in the upcoming live stream, which you've probably seen by now. It's probably been uploaded by now. But I've had a lovely, wonderful few days. It's been absolutely brilliant. It's been superb. I've got the chance to make a new Panmo TV video, but it's also been a social event where I've spent time with these wonderful people, this couple who I haven't known for very long. I only met them a couple of months ago, and we really become good friends. So that's absolutely great. And last night I slept really well. I had insomnia the first night, but last night and night before, perfect sleeps every time. Yeah, but this is now bleeding here on my lips, so I'm gonna. Well, it'll go away when I come. It'll go away when I'm home, so that'll be okay. Time for a cup of tea, I think. Now I want just to make you aware of something very, very strange. Now, when I came here, I did have I did leave it open to the possibility, or the expectation maybe even, that something unusual would happen. It's not just that I'm recording something very strange that happened in 1977, but that something very, very strange actually would happen to me, or to us, on this particular adventure, live today in 2022. Now, yesterday morning, you remember, I was sitting outside in the garden. It was a lovely morning. I was drinking tea and eating, and Rhiannon reads 14 times, like many people in our community do, and she got this one here, this particular 14 times I was reading. It's number 394, July 2020, and as you can see, it has a feature here on the Mandela effect, and I was reading that. You'll know about the Mandela effect from other videos I've made, and indeed from my review of the film The Mandela Effect. Basically, the Mandela effect is, in a nutshell, large numbers of people in many different places conflating the same thing. In other words, having false memories that are the same, which really shouldn't happen. It really shouldn't happen at all. And then I was reading this, and I came back upstairs to the guest room where I'm staying, and I'll just show you here in a moment. Put this here. Just put that there so I've got my hands free. I'll just show you, just to the tripod out. I'll just take the tripod down a minute. I was literally just walked up here, up the stairs, and I walked along here, like up along this little corridor here. As you can see, there's a map on the door of the guest room where I'm staying. And I've always, you know, I love maps. I love islands, and I love little places like this, the Orkney Islands, the Shetland, and that's where what's his name I interviewed comes from. And I always remember there's the Inner Hebrides, there's islands like Colin, Tyree, and Mull, and Skye. There's several collections, there's several collections of islands, archipelagos, and one of them is Colin, Tyree, and there's Rum, Egg and Muck and Canna. And because they have unusual names, which are actually homophones of English words, Rum, Egg and Muck are islands that most people have heard of. You know, when I looked at them like that, I should be walking towards it like this, and I stopped and I looked, and I suddenly realised something. Rum is spelled R-U-M. And I thought, that's odd, I remember it being spelled R-H-U-M. Rum, as they'd say in Wales. No, I remember it so well. I mean, I've got an old atlas at home from the 70s, and I read through it as a kid, and I remember Rum, Egg and Muck, and I remember rum being spelled R-H-U-M. So I went onto Wikipedia. No, it's spelled R-U-M. Now, I'll know for certain whether or not this is a Mandela effect. I'll know that I have misremembered it. Put it this way, I'll know it was a false memory when I go home and I check my old atlas, because if it says R-H-U-M in there, I'll know it's a false memory. If it says if it says R-U-M in there, I'll know it's a false memory. If it says R-H-U-M, I'll know it's probably just maybe a mispronunciation or a misspelling, and there's nothing really weird about it. However, this is my appeal to you. Do any of you remember Rum, Egg and Muck, and rum being spelled R-H-U-M? Because if you do, and there's no written record of it anywhere being that, then we've discovered a new Mandela effect, and we have to let Fiona Broom know. I'll write to her website. So please post in comments or write to me, bennyj74gmx.co.uk, if you remember Rum, Egg and Muck being spelled R-H-U-M for rum. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's my souvenirs. Now, I've got my reading box now. That's Kim Philby. I've still haven't finished that book. That's my politically incorrect reading book. And Now that envelope contains the latest Nexus magazine, which I haven't actually opened, I haven't had a chance to read yet. I've got lots of presents from my host. This is I've got another one here I forgot about. That's some probiotic medication, which I normally get from a health food shop, but I haven't. This is actually was given to me. It's just like it's a pretty good substitute for that sort of thing. I find that very useful. This is a DVD of something called Spirited Away, one of the greatest animated films ever. Looks good. Just looks like some kind of anime thing. I'll have to see at some point what that's like. That's some tea, which apparently comes. It's rather like Grandma Towler's tea. It comes from an unwoke tea company, former generation. That's good. I'll just taste that and see what it's like. That's my notebook. Now these are little ceramic water pipes. You know what these are? Little clay things. You put them into kettles, and they make the water taste nicer. So that's another present from my host. You've already seen my Dyfed Enigma book. That's my pen. And now there's an interesting story behind this. This was I found this. It's a 2018 AA Large Scale Road Atlas of Britain. It was just lying on a garden wall, and I was at work actually, just walking along, and this just suddenly appeared. It was lying on a garden wall. It had a sign next to it saying, "Please take what you like, whatever you like, completely free." There were a few other things as well, like knives and forks and stuff, and I decided to take this. And I'm glad I did, because it came in very handy. That's my moisturiser, toothbrush, and those are my souvenirs. Well guys, I'm getting the train home. It's much easier than any other way imaginable. And I've got here some presents. As a bottle of water that was given to me by Rihanna, and the new Nexus magazine. So I think this journey will pass very quickly indeed. Well, I'm back in Oxford. It's the end of this particular mission. It's been very successful, I think. I've enjoyed every moment of it. The weather's been really great. The atmosphere's been fantastic. Lots of surprises, places weren't exactly as I expected them to be. We couldn't get to all the locations we wanted to get to, but I've done the best I can with what we could. We did the best we could, considering things have changed since 1977. I want to say a big thank you to Mike and to Rhiannon. Rhiannon's been so fantastic. I've known her long, but she's a great friend. Mike, appreciate him. He's a good company too, and as a skeptic I appreciate him indulging our woo-woo delusions with great patience and great tolerance. I also want to say a big thank you to a person, a viewer, you know who you are, who has single-handedly funded this entire expedition from start to finish, and I mean everything. I mean they've transport, accommodation, food, drink, everything. They funded the whole lot. I want to say a big thank you to that person as well, and of course you, Hapanmo TV viewers, for watching as well. There's just one more thing I have to do. Okay guys, we have a really old atlas here. I've had this since I was a kid. This is 1970 something, it's really old. We're looking for, let's have a look, Scotland South, plate 30 to 31, so let's have a look. Right, so, what are these islands called? There you are, come on, say, where's the one? Colin Tyree, where's, oh, I've got to go up one, so it's the wrong one, I've got to go up one, I think. Here we are. What's that spelled? Rum, R-H-U-M, right. That explains it. It is not a Mandela effect. It was not a false memory nor a Mandela effect. It actually was, according to this map, spelled R-H-U-M. I thought so. If it hadn't been, then I would have been interested to see if it was a Mandela effect or something, you know, but anyway, there you go. R-H-U-M, rum, egg and muck. Eat them in that order. So thank you for watching Hapanmo TV. Hospital Porter's pride and dignity, stop the New World Order.